Joining me now is broadcaster and writer Esther Kraku. Esther, great to see you. Let's start with your embattled Prime Minister, Liz Truss, less than 40 days into her leadership. And I don't know, there's still more rumours. Apparently a prominent Conservative Party insider has confirmed some of her own MPs are pushing for her former rivals to replace her, and she could be gone by Christmas. I don't know. Tell me, Esther, is Boris behind all this?
That would be the sweet, sweet revenge. It's all a bit of a mess, really. I mean, I know people that were at the 1922 committee meeting yesterday, and they just said the atmosphere was completely dire. There are even members of our own cabinet that say we're going to lose our seats, we're completely done for. But Liz Truss made clear the few things that she made clear at the start of her premiership, that she's not really concerned if her popularity dips. She thinks she's doing the right thing for Britain, and I completely understand that. I've mentioned from the beginning that her communication and the communication team were quite ineffective at the beginning, especially when you release such a monumentous mini budget. You have to communicate effectively and you have to stand your ground. The U-turn didn't help on scrapping the top rate of income tax. So, everything is in a frenzy. Obviously, Friday is a very important day. But the point is, there are a lot of forces working against Liz Truss at the moment, and that's because she decided to take on the establishment without actually telling the establishment that she was going to take her on. So everything is completely up in arms. I think, that it's a bit still too early to tell. There are rumours that she won't be here past Christmas, but again, that's another way that the Conservatives are shooting themselves in the foot. I think if they're really realising and accepting that this may be their last tenure for a while and that we have an unfortunately Labour government incoming, then they should stick by the course, because I genuinely think that a lot of the measures that she's taking is in Britain's best interest. I think she's communicated poorly. I think she's spooked the markets. I think a lot of the rhetoric from the IMF and the Bank of England haven't helped, but I do think that her focus on actually trying to grow the British economy is the right one, because we're up to our necks in debt and we don't see a way out of this.
Well, Esther, you had me at she's taking on the establishment. Thank goodness, because that's what is so necessary in so many countries. Now, let's talk about Greta Thunberg. She's done a 180-degree on her stance on nuclear. This is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with your own Xeon Lights, who was an Extinction Rebellion activist there in the UK, who also started adopting nuclear. So the young kids, the younger generation out there, are kind of doing the maths, I guess. The smart ones are going, if we want to get to net zero, we've got to go nuclear. So she's told German TV that don't turn off your nuclear reactors. Have a listen.
For the climate issue, are the nuclear power plants the better choice for the time being now?
It depends. If we have them already running, I feel that it's a mistake to close them down in order to focus on coal.
Common sense from the younger generation, Esther?
Is it not incredible that many countries have modelled their energy policy around a Swedish teenager that should be in school, right? And she's not done a U-turn. She's happened to pick up a book and read it and understand certain realities of the world, that we cannot switch off our energy or do things to please you while millions and millions of people are effectively plunged into poverty overnight. It's not a U-turn. It's the fact that she's realising that there's a war going on in Europe. Germany's energy policy has been completely backwards, and it's put their national security interests at risk because they decided to buy cheap Russian gas for years, even though people like Donald Trump warned them not to. I mean, he may be orange, but he is right in this case. I don't think it's a U-turn at all. I think she's come to the realization that she's going to be even more deeply unpopular if she's telling the Germans who are facing very, very dire straits, and this winter is going to be brutal, that they should, stop using coal because I don't like it. Well, guess what? Some people don't care what you think. You're 19, you should be in school, you should be learning things about the real world instead of shouting down adults like a spoiled brat.
Now, Esther, I was disappointed you didn't turn up with a giant diamond around your neck, because I was reading today about the Koh-i-Noor diamond. The Indian government, apparently, this is the one that Queen Elizabeth had on her coronation, but apparently now, look, everything is racist these days, so apparently now the diamond, or wearing a diamond, is racist. Esther, what do you make of it?
I think it's completely ridiculous. I think it's the BJP-led Indian government that's trying to flex its muscles. At the end of the day, the diamond is disputed by 3 other countries. So, who do we give the diamond to? Do we give it to the Indian government? Do we give it to the Pakistanis? Do we give it to the Afghans? At the end of the day, Britain's history is Britain's history, and so is the history of other countries. Colonialism and, having a brutal empire wasn't unique to the United Kingdom. You know, the Mughals murdered thousands of Hindus in the Indian subcontinent, and no one talks about that, right? We paint all these atrocities like it's unique to the British Empire, even though it was the British Empire that also ended other unique atrocities like slavery. I think it's ridiculous, and I think it sends a very, very bad message if we're allowing this country to be threatened by the likes of the Indian government. I think it's very, very, very distasteful, and I think it sends a very bad message.
Exactly. Esther Krakow, always great to chat to you. I hope Charles has that diamond there. I think the world now wants to see that diamond. Thanks so much for chatting to us, and we'll chat to you next week. From London, Esther Krakow.